Contact event number 4, Long Beach, March, Easter long weekend, 1997, and I was 19 years old. So I went on a camping trip with my friends to Tofino, to Long Beach. So here we lived in Coquitlam, and we traveled all the way over to Tofino. And this was Tofino. We went to Long Beach and we went to the campground on Long Beach, Greenpoint Campground, and this is it. We had a camping spot somewhere over here. And one day in the weekend, I decided to go for a walk by myself, and I went to the end of the drive-in to the highway, and I was deciding to come back. So I was going up, and that's when the contact event occurred. And this is it. And I went and visited the location to discern all this detail. I was zoomed up into a craft and materialized out through 2 rectangular windows filled with bright white light. I was now the me that knows them, but the persona was muted by the fog of last night's pot in my brain. I now know the persona isn't muted because of the mental fog of pot. And that is obvious now because I have a clear memory of the event. The memory is occurring in timelessness. My pot brain is in stasis. The persona is muted because of my behavior, of acting in these childish ways of conforming with friends. Someone who has God in their hearts can't have the teenager pothead persona. Beavis and Butthead mentality is the best way to frame that. My ethereal mind in this moment is the conforming teenager repressing the persona, realizing they can affect my everyday life. Something else I picked up in this in-depth memory review was as soon as I became the me that knows them in the room, I quickly put together, like a background thought, a passive thought, that they had initiated the breakup with my girlfriend. Presently, I've long been curious about how the me that knows them was interpreting the obvious influence the entities were having in my life. And it's here I first realized that they could control the other me, or initiate things to occur. It was intimidating in the moment. Guilt-ridden, I sat in the chair and the medical being placed a device on my head. On a table next to the chair, a blue and red 3D hologram of my brain appeared, in real time with movement from blood flow. Alongside scripted written language, data and frequency are waveform measurements. The elder stood in front of me, with her hand out, palm open, facing up, opening and closing it several times, which psychically reflexed my diaphragm, making me cough as I repeatedly expelled and grabbed air, creating a rush of oxygen to my brain. I could see the changes on the hologram, which she and the medical being stared at intently. So I got something wrong here, and I'm okay to admit that. Now that I'm getting to the minutia of the detail, I can iron out some of the small details. So I wrote that I saw the blood flow movement in the brain in the 3D hologram, but I make it sound like I sat down and then saw the blood flow movement in the brain and then dealt with the elder, and then there was this interaction. And with my new understanding of the states I was in, I had to analyze the specifics. And it's true that my attention was on the elder when I sat down. And once she begins moving something in my body is the moment I look over on that hologram and see the details. So the correction is I sat down. She does the movements inside my body, and then I'm looking at that 3D hologram. And it's just when you're not knowing those details matter, you're saying I sat down, I saw this stuff, and then she did these things, and you're not really you have to analyze the specifics and say, well, did I see it first? Because it's true, I didn't see it first, but I don't have a way of, in the moment when you're putting all this information out and you're recording it, you're not clear on how to define those specifics, or that they're necessary. So then you're kind of summarizing to get information, to push information out and to make information flow as I tell the story. And here's the ultimate connection to what I'm now fully convinced is going on here. My body is in stasis, being in timelessness. Then when the elder is moving organs in me, I'm seeing the movement on the hologram. And so what's undeniable is they were monitoring my brain while the elder was doing something in my chest. The seeming connection is marijuana. And you have to know, the point is that marijuana does alter the blood flow to the brain. And they were clearly monitoring those effects. In the first edition, I report, I could feel it in my lungs, heart, and center of my brain. The feeling, so the elder's movements, whatever she was doing to me, I could feel it in my chest, so it was my heart and my lungs and the center of my brain. So she was making me kind of like convulse. and there was something going on that was happening to my brain, and the feeling was highly uncomfortable, and I coughed. I was like gagging or coughing. So these different parts of my body would be connected to artificially pumping blood into my brain while my body was in stasis. And so for the first time, a picture is formed about exactly what is going on here. My body is in stasis, and she is artificially pumping my heart and then watches the blood flow into my brain on a 3D hologram to confirm the effects of the marijuana. So I just, this is this is the detail I get into trying to understand what happened to me. We don't want you to do this, but we can't stop you from doing it. We know you're still going to do it. If you're going to do this, use caution. I now know the reason they don't stop me from smoking pot is because it's the package that goes with my higher self. It's almost like my higher self is saying to the grays, no, this is a part of his learning that he has to balance. That's why with my girlfriend, they can interfere and help end the relationship because my own higher self wanted me to move on from it. The elder just facilitated it. But with pot use, my own higher self wanted me to figure out how to balance it. The ocean of the mind is very, very fascinating, and its effects were greater than I understood at the time of the writing the book. The device expands the energy of my ethereal mind. Its field is large and contains all the layers of my mind, as if the energy of my ethereal mind is elastic and it gets stretched. I wrote, this device raised my consciousness to a higher state as I just observed and listened. Expands the ethereal mind. This is the higher self. And it occurs because the device. So, what I mean is, this is the higher self. This line is the higher self. That I become into the higher self state. I don't want to just say this to raise my consciousness anymore. I become the higher self in it. And there's a reason why this happens. I'll explain this here. So, it expands the ethereal mind. This is the higher self, and it occurs because the device is expanding my own awareness. And I learned something. When you stretch the ethereal body and ethereal energy, because the root of the ethereal energy is the higher self, upon expanding it, the higher self fills the gaps and you feel a raise of energy. So it really was by expanding my mind in this fashion, all of a sudden I'm in an altered state from it. And the altered state is a higher self state, is a consciousness state. It's more linked to the white room or more linked to these divine states of myself. Muted in colors. Another interesting detail was that the ocean of the mind was displayed in muted colors, like a gray bronze. This is unique in reflection to all the other types of holograms that I witness and which have pronounced colors. It gives the impression it is meant to be impacting my mind more subtly. The leader created this layered organization. Also, this device feels like the leader's, and I'm convinced he's the one who created this organizational style of witnessing floating thoughts in three layers: conscious, subconscious, and formative. Why is this happening to me? I also gained another memory of how I was processing things at the time. In the moment, while I'm witnessing the ocean of the mind and the elder is explaining it to me, I have a passive thought in which I question, why is this happening to me? So, like, it doesn't matter that you're in these times. The bottom line is you'll learn as I'll kind of create the picture. It's like phased, like I'm in these altered phase states, and I'm slowly putting things together because the white room is so extreme. They're opening things up, and even though they're staggered, it doesn't matter that they're staggered because they're altered states of my own higher self or my own ethereal body in my higher self. But the bottom line is I'm slowly becoming more formative over the contact events. And so here I am questioning, like, why is this happening to me? Like, where did it come from that I'm interacting with these entities? And then somewhere in my own consciousness answers, like it's a slight memory I have of a very high vision that I have to concentrate on. And it's the moment I'm in the afterlife witnessing the little gray approach my higher self. So the memory was accessible, but I'm in timelessness, but I had to focus on it. So there is a part of me out just figuring like she's saying this and you're having a passive thought like, why is this happening to me? And then you're trying to like figure out what's going on while she's talking to you. So anyway, just again these subtle passive thoughts For me, they help add layers and context to understanding what I was going through in these moments. She then shows me a holographic globe. You might want to know your future. The hologram was a globe composed of white and blue plastic or plasticine looking wisps. These are the same thing. This is the globe and this is the globe, but this is just a projector that it would seem to be on, some type of, yeah, projector. Traveling in the middle was a pure white line, straw, or tube that became dense with blue, black, and purple hues as it passed through the center of the globe. I could feel this was a part of me, like it was a part of my higher self, and surmised it was saying something was around the corner that wasn't good. The wisps are code holding information about my reality. The white and blue wisps are waves in appearance. The color blue was on the bottom half and white on the top half of each wave. The color blue I now believe represents, or is linked to, the blue of the holographic timeline and is the same material, while the white is my own higher self. I had to ask the elder in telepathy about the purpose of these wisps, and she responded that each one is a code holding information about my reality. Tech data pieces for the simulation. It's the building blocks of my reality through the passage of time. The white room, the white bulge at the bottom of the ocean. So this bulge here at the bottom of the ocean, the white room, this bulge of the ocean, and these wisps all have a similar or same frequency or vibration, just expressed in different tech. It comes off as reality creator tech with the oversoul, with the higher self. The white straw is the higher self. So the white straw in the middle, this line here. The white straw or line is the heart moving through space and time. It is the higher self with its plan. Upon that, I know the black line that I witnessed at that moment is the heavy pot smoking, the heavy use pot smoking. Seeing your timeline is a divine gift. I just want to mention, but the feeling here is that they let me look at my reality from this vantage point, like it's a gift to see this event. Something very powerful and reassuring about seeing yourself on a timeline, like things are moving how they are supposed to. Even though we live life in mystery about what's around the corner, which we are supposed to, it is a gift to be shown your timeline. A new thought I picked up in this memory review that was fascinating was when I was being sent back down, I realized that I'd never left the campground. Being picked up by the craft gave me the impression that I had been taken away somewhere. And I was, it's shocking to realize I hadn't been. The contact event occurred right there over top of the road, and that was a strange impression on me at the time. The obscured mind produced a vision of the contact event that became a marker. And I ended up having this vision that day, but on the field. I was on the beach, and I was hanging out with friends. I looked up to, so it was a vision. I was meditating. I actually tried to meditate, and I had this vision that came out of me. I looked up to see three moons in an equilateral triangle directly above me. I was dizzyingly spun around 180 degrees as they turned into one moon and was then left with a foreboding feeling I couldn't place. Later in the day, when I came back to my tent, I recorded it in my dream journal, which I had brought with me on the trip. The vision was extremely visceral, like I had actually been picked up and spun around. And what was the foreboding feeling I couldn't place? On April 3rd, when I came back from our camping trip, I walked into work only to find I was unexpectedly laid off. When I get picked up by the craft, I'm in time. Inside the craft of this contact event, I'm picked up by the craft, I'm in time. Inside the craft, I'm outside time. When I'm being put back down, I'm placed back on the road but turned around and again in time. Let me back this up here. I'm walking down this road, I'm picked up by the craft in time. Inside the craft, I'm outside time. And when I'm being put back down, I'm placed back to come back to the campground. I'm placed back on the road, but turned around and again in time. All that's left is a visceral sensation for my physical tissue brain of being spun around 180 degrees. So my brain actually has a feeling of being picked up and spun around. And then in the middle of that spin is the contact event. That's how insane this is. So I retained the feeling of the actual being spun up and put back down, and then it being spiritual by nature because it involved my own higher self. The whole contact event is an oversoul phenomenon for me in the moment. So I'm experiencing my own higher self bliss. So I have this beautiful vision I can't figure out, contained with a sensation of being picked up and spun around and put back down. And then of course in between is the contact event of that spin. In between that spin is the contact event. As well, I understand the symbology now. The moons are my higher self. The arrival of the craft above me produces an anticipation of my own higher self. Three moons are my 19-year-old projection of the higher self I can't embody, produced as this feeling of sacred symbology, the equilateral triangle. I'm picked up in time while the contact event occurs in timelessness, and I'm put back down facing the other direction also in time, producing a subconscious hoisted and spun around sensation for my physical tissue brain. As it ends, I am embodying the higher self from the ocean of the mind and the holographic globe, producing a symbol of the three moons becoming one, an internalized sensation of becoming complete and whole, which I felt better, or I felt more complete and more whole after the contact event. But because I'm still thinking on the 19-year-old brain, or the 19-year-old, yeah, the 19-year-old brain, it slowly fades away as the day maybe goes on and the weeks go on. I'm picked up in time, but not clear if the entity's alternate reality frequency is there, because I don't actually know that I'm become the me that knows them outside. Inside the craft, I'm in timelessness. When I'm put back down, I'm in time again, but still aware of the contact events. Remember, I had the memory of saying, hey, I hadn't left. So it was kind of weird for me. So I actually still have the memory. So I'm still contained in the frequency. There, I'm in time again, but still aware of the contact events as I'm being put back down. Therefore, must have the alternate reality frequency still available at some point. So maybe just seconds later, from the program to forget my own higher self and the elder, all that detailed information about them saying, for me to not look at it, the contact event is obscured. The vision produced of the three moons becoming one moon is my own vision, not a screen memory. Again, there's this idea that I get put into this higher self state, and then when it's obscured from me, I produce a psychic. I produce the own energy of my own psyche produces a vision, a subconscious vision. Just like the dream floating over the top of the soccer field in my first contact event, and the mystical wizard of my second contact event, a naturally produced subconscious vision from the obscuring of the contact event by the removal of the entity's reality frequency. A means for the residual high psyche energy frequency of the entities to be released. In a hypnagogic state, the vision is produced. So, what's being created by the entities is another me, the persona, as it is called in the book. But I now know it is a body, fully formed in timelessness, with its roots as the orb in the white room. So remember, my body was an orb. And now that timelessness body, stored in the higher self and activated by the reality frequency of the entities, has an adjustment made. The ethereal mind has been expanded by the ocean of the mind, which left an imprint of a pronounced sensation of an exposed subconscious core. This is really hard to wrap our head around, only if you can't understand there's a higher self that produces, thousands of afterlife selves. And so all the entities have done is just use that science. And there's another me, and then they're able to alter that other me. And then that other me in that frequency snaps together, and I now have that expanded mind. So I'm the 19-year-old, not with the expanded feeling, the sensation of the ocean of the mind. And now all of a sudden, when I'm with them, I produce this other me it's this other energy stored. It's such a crazy idea. This energy body, linked to the reality frequency of the entities, is stored in the timelessness state of the higher self. So, a third person perspective, if someone saw this contact event from a third person vantage, I'm convinced they would have seen the immediate arrival of a craft directly over top of me, quick and discreet, and the appearance of a single beam coming from the object directly, quickly lifting me up into it while I faced one direction and immediately putting me down as I came out of it. facing the opposite direction, with the craft then immediately leaving at a great speed. I believe from the third person vantage, the contact event would have appeared to have lasted a couple seconds and not more.